Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and today we are covering week 3 of my film journey. So a few weeks back, I got back home from the UK. I've kind of been burnt out on videos and on YouTube, but also on movies, and it's been a weird place to be in a weird headspace. But coming back, I realized how much I do love collecting and how much I do love talking about film. And I thought about this in a lot of ways, but I decided I'm going to start physically journaling my film watching experiences and also just make a video of this each week where I'm going to be discussing the films I watch and the things that I pick up. And then also I might as well just highlight people in the community, because that's what I've loved doing on this channel is honestly talking to every one of you through Instagram or through a YouTube video like this. You know, it's always fun to kind of connect with people, and that's what this is all about to me is community, and then also at the same time it's about movies, right? And that's why we're all here. So with all that being said, let's jump into week 3, where I'm going to be covering Sunday, July 28th all the way up to Saturday, August 3rd, and kind of go through the films and TV shows that I watched. And at the end of this video, we'll have a little highlight of somebody in the community that I think is really important and also just amazing. So we're going to talk about that later. And but as in the meantime, if you have any recommendations for any things I should be watching or checking out, let me know in the comment section, because I would love to know what you're watching and see what you're doing on your own film journey. All right, so if you remember, I was in Columbia, Missouri on Saturday, where I was hanging out with some good buddies of mine, watching some movies. I got some Criterions at Barnes & Noble. It was a good time, and I definitely wanted to stay a little bit longer, but in the early morning of Sunday, I'm like, I have to go. I have work tomorrow, and I want to at least have a day to myself, and I want to watch some movies. And I decided to watch a couple of epics on Sunday, and I actually bookmarked this with another movie, but I'm going to talk about these movies first because they're connected in a weird way. And I'm talking about the 3 and 4 Musketeers. And this is an incredible adaptation of the novel, which I have not read, by the way. I've only read snippets of. But this is directed by Richard Lester. This came out in 1973 and 1974, respectively. This was originally supposed to be one film, but I guess it got split into 2, and that was a whole thing about actors not getting paid very much for that. But this has an all-star cast, in both films right here. Oliver Reed, who's one of my favorite characters in this entire story. Raquel Welch, Richard Chamberlain, Michael York, who is pretty much our main character. He's the 4th, Musketeer here. You see him right there. Michael York's hilarious, and I keep only thinking of Austin Powers every time I see him, which is a little wrong, but obviously I know he did things before. Frank Finley, Geraldine Chaplin, Simone Ward, Faye Dunaway, and Charlton Heston. Like, what a cast! Like, holy moly! But I had a great time with this, and ironically, I actually had more of a good time with 4 Musketeers out of the 2. I would give this one like a 3.5, and this one like a 4 out of 5. I don't know. It's interesting kind of dynamic where you're in an action adventure film, but you've got some comedic elements in it as well, where I feel like The Princess Bride would kind of borrow some of that elements later on in the future, especially Inigo Montoya's character being like Oliver Reed's character. There's a lot of similarities there. Obviously, Oliver Reed's a little bit more drunkard and a little bit less flashy, but it's a lot of fun to kind of see these guys play with so many great sets. And that's the other thing too, is this is an epic, right? This is a big epic film that has a bunch of great sets and a lot of great bombastic things going on in the background. And in the second one especially, there's like this whole battle sequence that like lasts an hour, and I am enthralled in it the entire time. But like I said, I really enjoyed these 2 films, and I definitely would recommend people check them out if are interested in like epic films or like action adventure, swashbuckling films, things like that. These movies are just terrific, and I honestly I'm looking forward to checking them out again. This was my first time viewing both of these movies, and so I had a good time with it, despite me being like, is that Basil? Or is that Michael York? But regardless, fun movies. Definitely check these ones out if you've not. Studio Canal did a great job for these 4Ks. They look terrific, and I'm excited to jump into further films from this director, and also more Musketeer action. All right, so I also mentioned that I saw a movie kind of in between this, and I don't know why was in the mindset to do this, but I decided to split this up and watch Three Musketeers, watch another movie, and then watch Four Musketeers. But I was able to watch Paris is Burning. And I actually talked about this in my Criterion video a little bit further in depth, but man oh man did I love this film. This is one of the best films I've seen this entire week, and I know we're starting off really strong, but this is just an incredible document from 1990, kind of covering the 1980s drag ball scene in New York City. And it's just, it's raw, it's untethered, it's fun, it's celebratory. There's all these things that these adjectives I've used to describe this, but it's definitely an experience to watch on your own accord. And it's also just really beautiful to see these people kind of just have the time of their life as they're competing for these trophies and these ribbons. I think one of the coolest things about this is the element of community that I don't know if is necessarily captured as well as something like this, where it's so unique and it is so perverse in a great way, that I think it's something that, like, honestly is bombastic. It's something that is to be celebrated. It's one of these films that you can just see the people who are involved in this had a great time, but also go through a lot of struggles in daily life, and this is the community that they feel at home the closest to. It'll get you into a scene that you never expected, and it's delightful for that reason. All right, so what is crazy is between Sunday and Saturday, I pretty much only watched Twin Peaks. First of all, I go to work, right? So I work an 8 to 5, and that's kind of what I do. And so I don't really have much time to watch movies. And when I get home, I do other things, and I just want to unwind and just be off of media. And sometimes I like to take breaks, But in the mornings, I always love to grab a cup of coffee and watch Twin Peaks. And I watched a great bit of episodes, and I'll mention each of them. Episode 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 episodes, or 8 through 12 in season 2, which is right in the middle of season 2, which I know season 2 is one that is kind of a hit and miss with a lot of people. And this is my first time going through Twin Peaks, mind you. Let me say that first of all. But I think this was around the time that David Lynch kind of left the series a little bit, and Mark Frost took over more of, and you can see that in the melodrama that comes in this a little bit further. It kind of dives deeper into some weird territory where there's some love triangles and different characters who come up and really aren't as relevant as I would expect. I'm still watching this, by the way, so who knows if they're relevant or not. But there's also some really great supernatural things that are happening in this as well, which I won't get into, because if you've not seen it, I definitely recommend you to kind of going into this blind and kind of just letting it wash over you, right? But this is just terrific. I love the characters in this, and it's just super fascinating. And I'm going to be talking more about Twin Peaks as we kind of develop further and further into the end of season 2, which next week I plan on doing. And I also hopefully am able to watch Fire Walk with Me, which is going to be a really insane time, I've heard. But Twin Peaks season 2, so far, it's kind of a mixed bag, but I'm really enjoying it. Those episodes, like I said, through 8 through 12 in season 2, those episodes are a little bit more melodramatic, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm still enjoying my cup of coffee, and definitely watch Twin Peaks if you've not seen it. This is just such a fun experience. So let's actually jump all the way down to Friday, where I was able to finally watch some movies. So I will say I did try to watch a film during the week, but I didn't really have much time, and I kind of fell asleep a little bit early because I watched it a little too late. But I did finish this on Friday, and I'm talking about the movie Clarisola. Now, this film is on Piccadilly Pictures, right? No, Panorama. Piccadillo Panorama release. I got this at the BFI, and I was just curious, and I was very drawn to this image. And in the reading of the back, I also was like, okay, this sounds very much up my alley. It looks like a beautiful portrait of a woman just trying to be herself. And that's what this movie is. And it is about a woman who is, I think, early 40s, maybe late 30s, where she has a crooked back. She's in a Costa Rican village. She's isolated, but her mother holds her back. She never really grows up, and so she has a lot of childlike wonders and thoughts about the world. And she's also very sexually repressed, and that comes into this film quite a bit, but also just not herself, right? And like most people just use her for her mystical abilities that she may or may not have, and that's kind of where her role in this community is. But this film really does explore the self, Clara Sola herself, and the person that she could become, with really great close-up cinematography. This stuff, it really just kind of pierces your soul watching a film like this and seeing this person go through this transformation of herself, right? And the frustrations that she goes through and not understanding what is right or wrong. It's quite good, and it's a good portrait on self-discovery, but also of familial and spiritual awareness and awakeness. And I think that's something that maybe is not seen as much in cinema today. So this is definitely a film to check out. If you've not heard it, Clara Sola is a great film, and I definitely recommend people check it out. Like I said, Peccadillo Panorama. Pick this film up. So after Clara Sola, I finally watched a 4K set that I've had on my shelf for far too long to have not seen them. I'm talking about Krzysztof Kieślowski's The Three Colors trilogy. This is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It might be my third favorite trilogy. Lord of the Rings and Before trilogy is right there, but Three Colors is right up there. And Krzysztof Kieślowski, I've known about for a long time actually. I was able to watch Decalogue some years ago, and I was able to even watch the Three Color trilogy some years ago as well. I have both of those on Criterion, and I loved the works of this filmmaker. And honestly, it was good to take some space and some time away from that experience, which I would say was maybe 5 to 7 years ago. And now here we are in present day and watching these again, but all on 4K and watching the new Curzon edit. It was terrific, and it was a very spiritual experience. And honestly, I think that's what Kieślowski really does well, is jump into the spiritual. But the Three Color trilogy, it delves into these three different colors: blue, white, and red. And they're all representations of the French flag. So blue kind of covers liberation and freedom, white covers equality, and red covers brotherhood or fraternity. And so blue is the one I watched on Friday, and this actually might be my favorite of the three. It's hard to say because they're all so freaking good. But Juliette Binoche, oh my gosh. And she is absolutely amazing in this film. She loses her husband and her daughter very early in the movie, and it is a devastating effect on her and her own identity, and trying to break free, which is what a lot of this film kind of deals with, from that identity you had prior to this existence that you're in now. And this is a really tough movie to watch. It's sore, but it's also really uplifting in a weird way. It's hard to explain because of that freedom aspect, that liberation aspect. It is really enchanting in that way. Obviously, blue is textured all over this film because the way it's shot, and the flashes of blue with the instrumentation. Her husband was an old composer and a conductor. That all comes in, and it waves in waves over Julie's entire existence. And the moment, like just those subtle moments in her life, you sense those things as you're seeing them like physically as she's reacting to it. But this film hits really strong for me. Without really getting personal, there's somebody in my life that I can see Julie being that character. She did not lose her husband and her daughter. Not so much that. It's more about finding yourself. And yeah, so it hit a little bit strong for me. So this might be one of my favorite films ever, honestly. And blue might be my favorite of the three, but that's what I watched on Friday. So we're going to get to white and red here in a second, but we have a couple of movies to talk about in between that time. So moving to Saturday, we'll get back to the Three Colors trilogy. I wanted to watch a few shows. You may have heard of one of them, right? I watched some Twin Peaks. I also watched House of Dragons on Game of Thrones, and I watched a few episodes of that. I fell off of that, unfortunately, as I went on my trips. That was happening as I was going, so it kind of just threw my schedule off. So I just haven't had time to catch up with Game of Thrones, but I was able to watch episodes 3 and 4 of House of Dragon. A lot of things are going on, and it's getting pretty wild and intense, but I'm sure I'll cover House of the Dragon in next week's episode, as I probably will try to watch it all and finish it. I'm having a good time, but I don't want to start too many shows and not finish it, because I'm still watching Twin Peaks, of course. But I was also able to watch some 1994 films. That's actually the reason I wanted to watch the Three Colors trilogy to begin with, was because there was this challenge from the Rad Pack, which I had mentioned in week 1, where they are talking about Rad 9 films from 1994. It's just personal favorites from 94. And, I wanted to watch some more 1994 films. So the first one I had on my shelf that I hadn't seen is Hudsucker Proxy. And this is a fantastic Coen Brothers film that I didn't really expect the tone of this movie to act the way that it did. But it's got Tim Robbins in it as our titular character, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is terrific, and Paul Newman. Well, what a cast, right? So this is an early Coen Brothers film, but it definitely feels a little juvenile in the way that if you know the Coen Brothers now, right, you would see that kind of early stage from them. But regardless, this is just a really fun film that kind of parodies business culture and a lot of just the stupid things that we do in this consumerist society, with Tim Robbins' character kind of being the forefront of an idiot. And he's that proxy of the sucker himself, who is our biggest con man in the movie, Paul Newman. But this is a terrific film, and I definitely want to rewatch it and kind of revisit it and kind of experiencing it, knowing that there's some element of comedy in this. Like there's like a two double-sided to this. I didn't really know what the tone was going in. So this is going to be a lot of fun to rewatch, but I had a really good time with it. And yeah, definitely recommend checking out Hudsucker Proxy. So still staying in 1994, but also going back to this bad boy, the Three Colors trilogy, I was able to watch White and Red. And I don't know if I wanted to see if I could watch both these movies in one day. I almost wanted to space it out a little bit. And that was my initial thought here. I'm glad I didn't, but I could also see myself enjoying all three films separately on their own respective day. So 1993's White. Three Colors White. Blanc, if you will. I haven't said any of the French stuff. But we have Carol, who is this Polish immigrant who, at the very beginning of the film, he's married to Julie Delphi. Only been married to her for a little bit of time. But they're getting a divorce. He's getting kicked out of the country. They're in France, so he's trying to get back to Poland, and kind of just repackage his life in a way. And it's almost in a very anti-comedy, very silly way. But it sounds awful, right? But the way that it's presented and the way the things that Carol gets involved in, the predicaments that he's in, it's baffling, because it feels very farcical, or at least a little bit fictitious, but at the same time it's not. It's very relatable. You're like, no, that could actually happen to me. And that's where some of the anti-comedy comes in, and you can kind of see yourself in that shoes. But White, I hadn't mentioned the color aspect of this. It's more about equality. This one is, I feel like, the loosest of the three in terms of what it's trying to portray, but it's honestly just showing the fact that Carol cannot catch a break, and also just cannot get equal footing in society and in the way that he wants. Like I said, I don't know if this is the most apt of the three in terms of its kind of color coordination with the story itself. I can jump into it further. Honestly, White might be the least explored of the three films. I know the other two are talked about so much, but I had such a fun time with White. It's definitely a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think I'd mentioned it, but Blue's a 5 out of 5. And this next one that we're going to be talking about in this trilogy, it's a 5 out of 5 too. We're talking about Three Colors Red, Three Colors Rouge. I don't think I had pulled this out, but I haven't pulled this out in a long time. Sounds weird. But these discs are just absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, we're talking about Red, right? So we're talking about the Three Colors Red. It also came out in 1994 and is an end cap to this entire trilogy. So Three Colors Red is all about brotherhood and fraternity. And that's a little bit loose as well, kind of like White, but in a different way. It is actually more about a friendship. And that's what this is between Irene Jacobs' character and Jean-Louis Trintignant's character. Two people who are at complete opposite ends of life, and honestly, they come together in a crazy happenstance. And this judge, Jean-Louis Trintignant, is a dirty old man who does a lot of weird things, but very much in the conversation where he's listening to couples fight and bicker and blackmails people, and it's crazy. There's a lot of interesting plot points in this film, but regardless, the whole plot and the whole idea is of people who have honestly really hardly anything in common, just happen to be in each other's space and in the same area, you see that take place and make that a very big moment in their lives, and also just makes that friendship. And I think that's what is very interesting, that I believe that Kieslowski is kind of talking about our environment and the things and the people we're around. Weirdly enough, it's shaped by that physical, just you're in that environment, you're in that space. And it's kind of hard to think about it like that, but I mean, think about your work, right? If you work in a physical place, all the people you're interacting with, those are your friends. Hopefully, hopefully you can get along with your coworkers, but like things like that, you get involved with stuff like that, and it's all because of where you're growing up and where you're spending your time. And I think that's where this one kind of shines through a little bit, in that friendship and that brotherhood, and like kind of unity together of like, hey, we might be completely different, but we interact together in a great way. 5 out of 5 film, terrific film, and also ends in an amazing way with all the characters coming back. It ends in a very weird tragedy, but not for our characters. And that's all I'll say about it. If you've not seen the Three Colors trilogy, you do yourself a favor. You pick up this Curzon set. It looks terrific on 4K. And also, yeah, just watch these movies because they're just terrific. But that's what I did for the week 3. I watched a lot of Twin Peaks. I watched the Three Colors trilogy, some 1994 films, and some Three Musketeers, right? But I also picked up a few things as well. I didn't mention this, but this came during the week as well. I also picked up my last 2 Criterions from the Criterion Barnes & Noble sale. I also to pick up Anselm Kiefer. It's a film by Wim Wenders. I know how to say that. But it's a film from the Janus Contemporary line that I'm really excited about from 2023. And I was also able to get Farewell, My Concubine, which I am really excited to check out. From 1993, Chen Kaig, who directed this film. This is a film that I've been wanting to watch for a very long time. So getting this on 4K is going to be a treat. And I'm definitely going to be watching this soon. It's 171 minutes, so it's going to be a doozy. But if I could watch The Three Musketeers, I can watch Farewell, My Concubine, right? So let's jump over to the Spotlight corner, where I spotlight somebody in the community, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. All right, so we made it to the Spotlight corner, and today I want to talk about a friend of the channel. He's been on the channel. He has actually been on a film journey himself. I'm talking about my friend Warren, Goose's Movies. Goose, you are terrific, man. Like, you do terrific work on your channel. You also have a amazing Instagram account, so if you're not following him on Instagram, you should be, because his content is terrific. He's based in the UK, and he talks a lot about Curzon and the films he's watching at the time. And he's got a lot of really terrific ideas and thought into the things that he's talking about. And that's where I think his introspection really kicks in. And I honestly, I'm glad to call him a friend. And hopefully the next time I come over to the UK, I'm able to visit him and hang out with him and pick some movies up and maybe watch a couple ourselves. But yeah, go check out Goose, because he's terrific, and go check out his channel. Go follow it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. I'll see you over here in the other area, in the other closet. So as we close this, I had a terrific week 3. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I hope you can go follow Warren, and also let me know in the comment section some films that you want me to check out. I would love to get some recommendations. I will get to them, I promise you. But just give me some things you're watching right now. I would love to know what you're doing for your film journey. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, comment down below, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around. Bloop.